Imagine becoming a magic instructor with the potential to stun the entire academy continent, yet not knowing the first thing about magic. That's the exact situation of our protagonist, Noah. Noah isn't a mage at all. He's actually a music teacher from Earth, suddenly tossed into a world ruled by magic and runes. Noah, like most people, met his end. His consciousness drifts endlessly through darkness, lost in a void where neither good nor bad memories surface. Even his own name slips away as only emptiness remains until a faint glimmer appears. A sense of existence returns, as though pulled by an unseen thread. Suddenly, his soul hurls into countless lives, flashing through worlds that reject him one after another, casting him back into the void repeatedly. After endless failed rebirths, he finally comes to a stop. He emerges in a small forest clearing, where trees loom like withered hands stretching toward the sky. Instead a newborn child or a mother, a greasy-haired man kneels on the ground, panting heavily. From his belt, the man pulls a gourd, breaks its seal, and drinks greedily. Halfway through, his eyes widen in horror as he clutches his throat. The gourd slips from his grasp, liquid spilling across the dirt as his body collapses lifeless. Noah's soul pulls into the man's body, and at last it holds. Air fills lungs once more, and trembling hands touch skin. For the first time in so long, life returns. Laughter bursts forth, mixed with tears of disbelief. The joy of returning in the body of a fully grown man is evident on his face. Rubbing his temples, the forgotten name surfaces. Noah, along with fractured images of Earth, stars, and a restless impatience, though confusion lingers. Rebirth is supposed to strip away memories, yet fragments remain. A bitter taste on his tongue, accompanied by the thought of who he is, lingers in his mind. Crawling to the fallen gourd, he finds a parchment tied around it. The content seems foreign to him, yet he understands it somehow. It bears a message from Magus Vermil, the host, promising it as a healing potion. Judging by Vermil's death, the potion does the opposite. Although Magus Vermil has enemies, he chooses to worry about them later. Nearby, corpses of strange, fanged, clawed creatures resembling monkeys litter the ground. Yet they don't seem to be responsible for the wounds across Vermil's chest. Whatever that creature might be, he only hopes it is long gone. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. A shadow falls overhead and drool splatters down. Landing on his head, a trembling feeling creeps in. An enormous, grotesque monkey looms above, screeching with a sound that tears through the air. Twice Noah's height, it has long arms, jagged fangs, and beady eyes filled with hunger. Terror freezes him as the beast charges. Panic drives him to flee, but the thunder of heavy steps closes in. Desperation surges as claws swing toward his skull. Without thought, his body reacts. He quickly drops into a runner's stance and bolts off, suddenly realizing this place is definitely not Earth. The creature roars, its furious eyes locked onto Noah. Each slash it delivers comes inches closer than the last. While running, Noah despises the feeling, the shame of fleeing, the fear of dying a coward's death. With gritted teeth, he makes a choice no one expects. He turns to face the unknown beast, as if challenging it to a duel. Unknowingly, he has cornered himself. Just as the creature's claws are about to deliver the killing blow, Noah raises his hand. Strange white and blue lines begin to form patterns in the air around his palm. A blast of wind explodes from his palms, striking the beast. Drained, he staggers in shock at the impossible realization. Magic flows within him. The triumph doesn't last. Another claw tears through his head, and agony rips his soul from flesh once more. His lifeless body crumples while his consciousness hovers above, detached from pain. With bitter humor, he muses at the speed of this death, faster than most records could claim. As his soul drifts away, fragments of memory surge back. Noah remembers something crucial. He has always believed that something awaits after death, but he never imagines it would be a line, winding up a staircase of all things, leading to God knows where. Finding the journey monotonous. All he can do is reflect on his life. How he never marries, never has children. All he has is a certificate that leads him to become a music instructor. Yet, he carries little to no regrets. In the end, none of that matters. The only thing he does is walk, step after step, year after year, until he loses count of time itself. What awaits him is beyond imagination. At the end of the endless staircase stands a sanctuary, a summit. There, bathed in light, awaits a radiant woman in flowing silk, silver waters shimmering behind her. She is definitely not human. Her tone, as if reading from some unseen record. She knows his name without asking, recalling a death at 26, a life that has influenced 84 students whose prayers have reached her. A wave of relief washes over Noah as he acknowledges that his life has held some meaning after all. His existence, she judges, has been well lived. Noah suspects she might be some kind of deity, though he's unsure which religion claims her. In response to this, she names herself Renewal, the goddess of reincarnation, offering him the waters of life to erase memories of his past life and grant new birth. Noah appears hesitant, burdened by countless questions he longs to ask. Before clarity can emerge, chaos erupts. A crack tears through the fabric of space, followed by a deafening explosion that shakes the entire sanctuary. Dark energy surges through the air, wild, malevolent, and unpredictable. By sheer luck, Noah manages to evade its grasp. But that is only the beginning. Something far more sinister is coming. A huge, towering deity appears. His sheer aura alone is bone-chilling. Unexpectedly, he declares a desire for renewal. The man charges forward, spear aimed at her head. Renewal takes a defensive stance, and from the way things look, this isn't their first encounter. They collide. Their battle splits the land. Steel clashes, shields shatter, and divine blood spills into the silver waters. Amid the destruction, Noah chooses to flee. He simply doesn't want to find out what happens if someone accidentally dies in the afterlife. The man taunts Renewal, asking if that is all she has. She decides to commit fully and get serious. He tilts his head slightly to dodge her attack, finding it more intriguing that way. Next, he teleports, delivering a massive slash, but she dodges it with swift reflexes. She counters, slashing off his arm with her magic. The battle grows fiercer. Noah instantly remembers his only escape, drinking the divine water. The force of their clash causes a massive explosion that hurls Noah into the lake, where he swallows droplets of blood. Renewals mingled with her foes. Now Noah pauses midway, his expression clouded with worry, uncertain if he'll have to wait in the long line, or if the line even exists at all. He begins to lament in frustration, only to be suddenly snared by a purple ribbon that tightens around his throat, dragging him back toward Magnus Vermil's body. In that instant, he jolts awake, breathing violently, chest heaving, heart racing. Confusion consumes him as he realizes, with a mix of disbelief and awe, that he is alive again. Confusion consumes him as he realizes the truth. Death becomes a cycle. Again and again, dozens, perhaps hundreds of times, he revives only to fall once more. Each time, it always begins near the same curse gourd. The torment is nearly intolerable, yet remains more bearable than the soul-crushing monotony of the endless queue he once endured. Eventually, he recovers Vermil's possessions, though the magic never fully returns. Its presence lingers faintly, hidden in the misty recesses of his mind, always just beyond his grasp. Despite this, each death brings new insight. The monkeys he encounters in battle consistently rely on a limited set of attacks. Over time, their patterns become familiar. The way their muscles coil before a leap, the subtle flickers in their eyes that betray movement, and the predictable rhythm of their claw strikes. His physical strength and speed have not increased, but his skill and evasion has sharpened. He squanders no opportunity to learn from these encounters. After millennia spent in that torturous line, His patience has finally worn thin. He is about to face another monkey. The monkeys assault him relentlessly, but he dodges their strikes with ease, his determination unwavering. The number of deaths no longer matters. He needs only one successful kill. Saying this, Noah delivers a straight punch that ends the monkey. Later, a group of men flying on swords appears overhead. Noah makes a call for help, hoping to be heard. He is momentarily stunned to see real people surfing on swords. One of the men notices him and expresses shock at his battered condition, asking what has transpired. The truth is not an option. Vermil's purpose and identity remain unknown. Noah offers a fabricated story. A monkey has struck his head, causing memory loss. He adopts the name Vermil, uncertain whether the deception will hold. The men exchange glances, preparing to strike. He quickly presents a badge in hopes of confirming his identity. Recognition follows. Vermil is known as a teacher at Arbit. Noah recounts his strange encounter with a monkey-like creature, only to be corrected by one of the men, who refers to them as Hell Reavers instead. He has that confused expression as the group begins speaking in a language he recognizes, but with grammar so twisted and unfamiliar, it leaves him struggling to follow. The blonde-haired man stands out, wearing an unmistakable look of pride. He is clearly bragging, and his companion rolls their eyes, unimpressed but used to the routine. With a smirk, the blonde man turns to Noah and casually invites him to hitch a ride to the arbitrage. He reveals his name to be Frederick. Cautiously, Noah mounts the flying sword, and he poses a question about safety. Frederick reassures him, but advises holding on tightly as they are about to ascend into the sky. While airborne, Noah's thoughts race. He wonders if Vermil had indeed been a professor at Arbit. Recognition there is inevitable. The people who tried to kill him might even reside within the academy. Caution is essential. His safety has not improved since leaving the forest. Soon, Arbit City comes into view, a renowned center of runic study. Upon landing, Frederick welcomes his return, addressing him as professor. Despite the looming danger, the situation holds promise. A magical academy offers the ideal cover and a chance to rediscover lost magic. He will need to maintain the fabricated memory loss story, and he needs to avoid attention. Frederick assures him that the academy's experts can provide assistance. Internally, Noah's concern grows that this might happen or if the truth emerges, and he will eventually be kicked out. Suddenly, a skeptical man approaches, commenting on rumors of Vermil's return and suggesting the absence has been intentional. Noah notices the man's tone carries a hint of condescension. He gives a response, citing memory loss and a head injury. The man scrutinizes his appearance and questions if Noah recognizes him. Pressed for answers, Noah guesses, asking if the man is a doctor. The man sighs, revealing the guess is incorrect. Introducing himself as Richard, he explains his expertise in healing runes. With a practiced motion, Richard places a hand on Noah's chest, preparing to assess the injury. Anxiety surges. The magic might expose the truth. But before that can happen, Frederick attempts to speak, citing his discomfort, but Richard interrupts, muttering that Noah is human. Suspicion lingers as Richard notes the disordered state of his mind. Calmly, Noah suggests rest might resolve the memory issues. Internally, fear persists. Richard might detect that Vermil is no longer present. Richard remains doubtful, stating that only time will determine recovery and calling the situation tragic. Suspicion toward Richard deepens. His disdainful demeanor hints at possible involvement in Vermil's poisoning. After expressing gratitude to Frederick, Richard promises a reward for his assistance. Frederick replies that any honorable man would have done the same and wishes Noah well. Richard then announces plans to inform the headmaster of the return and current condition. Upon noticing hesitation when asked about the room, Richard sighs and agrees to escort him personally. Shifting to the room, Richard asks for the key, but Noah shrugs, unable to produce it. Muttering, Richard activates a rune to unlock the door. Inside, the room is a complete mess, papers strewn across the floor. Richard promises to send someone to check in soon and advises staying put. Meanwhile, Noah observes the mess, and it is clear Vermeil lacked tidiness. Richard departs, not forgetting to give Noah a suspicious stare, slamming the door behind him. A lingering sense remains. Richard knows more than he admits. Amid the clutter, a key on the table catches his attention. Confusion follows. Why had Vermeil left it behind? Sitting down, he decides to make sense of the disorder. He also finds the situation favorable since he was a teacher back on Earth. He notices a note addressed to a student. Meet me in my room an hour after class if you want that extension. That message says everything about Magnus Vermeil being a scoundrel, perhaps explaining the motive for his murder. That aside, he finds a schedule that reveals the subject he teaches is magic. Doubt creeps in. How can he teach magic without the ability to wield it? Just as he begins contemplating what to do, a knock interrupts his thoughts. A man enters, introducing himself as Braden. He has heard of the return and asks what has happened. Noah gives an improvised explanation that an injury has caused memory loss. Braden scoffs, claiming he has been an issue. Concern arises over the extent of the memory loss, noting that the Linwicks would be furious if proper treatment hadn't been received. Relief comes. Braden doesn't appear hostile, despite his imposing build. He mentions a class scheduled in an hour and offers to find a substitute if needed. Noah attempts to accept, but is interrupted by Braden, who insists on arranging a thorough examination. He mentions something about an upcoming travel and his inability to cover Noah in the coming months. Understanding, Noah makes a quick decision. Basically, he doesn't want anyone to probe into his mind. So he assures that he can handle class. Since he is still figuring things out, a question follows. Where is the class located? Braden responds with exasperation, stating it is in Building A, Room 2. He makes a crucial warning. Failure of students would reflect poorly on the Linwicks, hoping Noah understands the implications. With that, Braden slams the door. Noah thanks him, affirming his commitment to attend. While feeling reassured, a paper on the floor shows itself. It reads, Face Dealer Group spotted in the area. At the same time, somewhere in the forest, a shadowy figure appears, dragging one of Noah's leftover corpses into some kind of abyss. We are taken to Building G of the Magic Academy. The building seems to be in complete mess, as if it is abandoned. Meanwhile, Noah races across the campus, muttering curses under his breath. Frustration mounts as the confusing layout of the building delays him further. His concern grows that the students might leave if he fails to arrive within the first 15 minutes. Upon bursting through a door, he scans the room with uncertainty, questioning whether he has found the correct location. The classroom appears long neglected, and its remote placement puzzles him. Breathing heavily, he notes the absence of any students or faculty along his route. While surveying the room for anything of use, the soft sound of approaching footsteps interrupts his thoughts. A girl enters, clutching a glowing blue orb, her expression marked by surprise. She questions Noah's presence, and he responds, feeling out of place, that he is the instructor. Another student soon follows, directing a curious glance at the girl, Isabel, and asking whom she is speaking to. Upon seeing Noah, the student freezes in disbelief, remarking that Noah has never attended class before. Noah, equally stunned, realizes the students are nearly his own age. The boy nudges Isabel, suggesting that Noah is unaware class has begun 40 minutes earlier. Isabel scoffs, speculating that Noah has expected the room to be empty. Determined to maintain composure, Noah resolves to remain calm and win over the students. With a strained smile, he announces that the session will be exceptional. Isabel's suspicion surfaces immediately, prompting her to question his intentions. Noah denies any ulterior motives, asserting that his sole purpose is to teach. Isabel and the boy, Todd, exchange glances, noting that Noah's demeanor differs from his usual behavior. Noah offers an explanation, claiming to have suffered a head injury resulting in minor memory loss, but insists the lesson will proceed. He instructs them to take their seats, inwardly amused by the opportunity to extract answers from the pair. Todd clarifies that no other students are expected. Only he and Isabel are assigned to Noah. Accepting the situation, Noah remarks that 2 students are preferable to none and urges them to sit. Skepticism lingers. Todd points out that their rank matches Noah's, and Isabel dismisses the notion that Noah can instruct them. To them, Noah's position stems from ties to the influential Linwick family, a name Noah has encountered before. Isabel proposes a deal, exemption from the exam in exchange for staying out of his way. Todd supports the idea, hoping for leniency. Noah, however, remains resolute. Despite lacking talent, he suggests possessing experience they might not share. Isabel rejects the claim with arrogance, but Noah persists, intent on capturing their attention for the remainder of the class. Attempts to undermine him follow, including references to a scandal involving a student. Noah silences them, asserting his authority and demanding the respect owed as an instructor. Although he can't blame them thanks to the host's creepy behavior. Turning to the blackboard, he announces the topic, runes. As if on cue, the board collapses with a loud crash, startling him. Regaining composure, he poses a question about the nature of runes. At first, the group doesn't take him seriously, seeing the topic as basic elementary questions. Regardless, Todd responds with a simplistic and dismissive definition, describing them as vessels of energy used for casting magic. Noah notes the answer on the blackboard, but appearing dissatisfied, he criticizes the explanation as shallow, clarifying that the inquiry concerns the essence of a rune, not its function. The students appear confused, unable to grasp the distinction. Good, they have taken the bait. Recognizing their lack of understanding, Noah explains that mastery of any tool requires comprehension at its most fundamental level. For someone that doesn't know magic, he could bet, judging from their expression, that no one knows runes magic down to the basic. True to his words, neither Todd nor Isabel can provide a proper answer, admitting ignorance. Their honesty is commended, and Noah emphasizes that awareness of one's limitations marks the beginning of true understanding. He then asks what magic is capable of achieving. Isabel responds with anything, prompting Noah to challenge the notion of limitless magic. But he is inwardly stunned by the discovery. Todd interjects, noting that only one rune can be used at a time, and Isabel adds that resurrection is impossible. Noah agrees, acknowledging magic's boundaries and stressing the importance of understanding its foundational elements. Internally, he entertains the possibility that magic can indeed revive the dead. Todd stares in disbelief, struggling to reconcile Noah's implications. Noah remarks that runes remain enigmatic and subject to ongoing study, asserting that anyone claiming complete knowledge is either dishonest or delusional. He then begins sketching a rune on the board. The sound of chalk scratching fills the room. Todd and Isabel watch in astonishment. Todd, wide-eyed, asks if the rune is Noah's own. Noah confirms it is indeed a rune. Their shock intensifies upon realizing it has been drawn before them. Noah, sensing he may have revealed too much, explains that the rune has come from his book, privately regretting the openness of the demonstration. Todd, still skeptical, asks if viewing the rune comes without consequence. Isabel mutters that Noah might truly have suffered a head injury. Maintaining composure, Noah replies that a teacher's duty is to educate, though he needs to exercise caution when probing further in the future. He then asks if they can identify the rune. The response identifies it as a rank 1 lesser fire rune. The mention of ranks surprises Noah, prompting him to seek clarification. Todd eagerly explains that lesser runes hold less magical energy, offer weaker control, and are generally inferior to greater runes. Nonetheless, he argues that lesser runes can still be effective and demonstrates by launching a flame through the ceiling. Noah nods in encouragement, though he is internally alarmed. Seeing that they have made good progress, he clears his throat and asks again for a definition of a rune. Silence follows. He reiterates that acknowledging ignorance is the first step toward understanding and encourages speculation about a rune's purpose. Todd suggests that runes can be combined and used to imbue objects, though uncertainty colors his tone. When Noah points this out, Todd admits to being unprepared for such scrutiny. Next, he assigns the task of contemplating rune composition for the next session. Turning to Isabel, he inquires about her method of accessing runes. To him, this is the most important question that needs answer. She hesitantly describes a sensation of sinking into one's soul, but expresses doubt about its completeness. Noah encourages further exploration, inviting them to concentrate on their runes and observe the outcome. He pledges to do the same. As Todd and Isabel close their eyes, Noah joins them in an attempt to connect with his own runes. Noah focuses intently, believing the task to be simple. His confidence stems from the fact he has been a soul for a long time. Not long after, he can sense the trait of his rune magic within him. And the first to appear is the wind blast he used on the grotesque creature. Along with other runes which he easily recognizes from Vermal's journal, he has a total of 7 runes, 5 wind runes and 2 ash runes. He attempts to combine an ash rune and a wind rune, experimenting with Todd's hypothesis of combining runes like a chord. At that moment, he feels something wrong. He feels an immense pressure in his head, as if his skull could split into 2. At the same time, a strange, large purple rune forms behind Noah, resulting in Noah breaking out in a cold sweat, simply because the rune itself reminds him of Renewal's foe, whose name we still don't know. The very next scene takes us to his room. Noah once again focuses intently on his soul. The runes begin functioning once more. Excitement surges briefly before a sudden wave of fatigue subdues it. A reminder surfaces. Energy, even magical, has its boundaries. Despite the weariness, the momentum of progress is exhilarating. Much remains to be discovered, but the path forward appears promising. Later, Noah moves through the pathway in the campus. Every step attracts attention. Eyes trail his movements. Maintaining a hurried demeanor, he hopes to avoid unwanted interactions. As he observes the cautious looks cast his way, a sense of relief settles in. No confrontation seems imminent. Yet, whispers among students intensify unease, especially regarding Vermal's tarnished reputation. The memory of the note Vermal penned lingers, stirring thoughts that someone still intends to complete a deadly task. Upon reaching the academy library, he pushes the door open, revealing a space far more refined than the classroom. The grandeur of the room prompts reflection on the disparity between workspaces. Spotting the section reserved for professors, he knows that is the intended destination. A quiet jest forms. Perhaps professors here receive complimentary coffee. That's if it exists in this world. Approaching the counter, Noah makes a request for books to the elderly man stationed there. When asked about the type of books needed, he asks for a simple introduction to runes, the basic stuff. Before a response can be given, a woman appears, her disdain evident. She ridicules the request, suggesting the Linwick lineage has deteriorated if such basic knowledge is being sought. Noah, on the other side, has no recollection of her. Her scorn deepens as she questions why his family's resources aren't being utilized. Noah gives a swift reply, stating that using the Linwick's assets for something so trivial is wasteful, especially when the library holds all necessary materials. The answer momentarily surprises her, though skepticism remains. She mocks the pursuit of beginner texts. Though it's no surprise, she notes while returning a book on the counter, she finds the idea of him being a professor at rank 1 pathetic. As her finger crackles with magic before releasing a spell, she references his past indiscretions involving magic to blow up the skirts of female students. The old man attempts to intervene, but the spell has already struck. The realization dawns. Vermal is widely despised. No wonder the hostility. Noah is at a loss on what to do about Vermal's poor reputation. A response is difficult to formulate, and only a brief apology surfaces, expressing a desire to move beyond past mistakes. Moxie sneers, dismissing the apology and branding him a disgrace aligned with his family's reputation. The sting of her words is sharp. Her dislike is clear, but his focus remains intact. Yet her interest in face dealers stands out. Reflecting on Vermal's character, it seems plausible that such animosity is deserved. A suspicion even arises. Perhaps she is the one who attempted the murder. But isn't that the reason he comes to the Academy Library? Redirecting the conversation, Noah makes the same quiet inquiry about the books to the old man. The scene transitions to Vermal's room, where Noah sits, contemplating the mechanics of his runes. The massive rune resurfaces in his thoughts, clearly unusual and potentially dangerous and insane to reveal. Noah's curiosity grows, wondering why someone from a moderately influential family possesses such inferior wind runes. Superior ones should be expected. This leads to an evaluation of his own collection. Appearing in his soul state, he focuses on the elephant rune and then on 5 wind runes and 2 ash runes. Though both types fall under wind magic, they feel distinct. One feels a bit emptier than the rest, almost as if each is a bucket or an individual source of power. The more energy stored, the greater their potency. Noah realizes slaying monsters infuses these vessels with energy, a phenomenon he first noticed in the forest. Even when nearly depleted, the ash runes, which are the lesser runes, hold more strength than the full wind runes. In other words, the lesser runes are like small permanent containers. This insight leads to the desire to upgrade lesser runes, energize them, and learn to combine them, which becomes the new goal, to become a broken character. Noah feels his wind runes are completely refilled. Confidently, he activates his wind magic on a stack of paper. The rune slices through them, confirming his growing mastery of wind magic. Noah thinks perhaps flight is possible with full control. His attempt to activate an ash rune fails, leaving frustration behind. Still, his attention shifts to what is currently working. That's when he has a practical idea, using wind magic to tidy the room. Later, papers scattered across the floor are gathered into piles. Though imperfect, the result is satisfactory. In the process, Noah feels one of his wind runes inwardly drain, reinforcing his understanding of energy and magic consumption. Before he can proceed with his next plan of action, fatigue from the day's events prompts a decision to rest. Noah enjoys a warm bath, which offers him comfort. Later, his search through Vermal's closet reveals only identical outfits, a testament to consistent fashion choices. While brushing his teeth, a sudden knock interrupts the calm. Startled, Noah cites the possibility of ignoring the visitor, hoping they will assume the room is empty. But the knocking only grows more intense, urgency mounting. Noah fears if the identity of the intruder is the one who killed Magnus Vermal. A frantic mental check confirms uncertainty about the door's lock. Before the thought can settle, the door bursts open. Noah resorts to hiding at the back of a piece of furniture. Just by pure chance, the intruder slips on the scattered papers and collapses on the floor. Cautiously, Noah emerges from his hiding spot. A pulse check reveals no signs of life. Horror sets in. Is the intruder dead? Panic escalates as he fears accusations of murder. While grappling with the situation, Moxie enters. Desperate to explain, Noah protests, insisting it isn't what it seems. The gravity of the moment weighs heavily. Noah tried to clarify the misunderstanding, acknowledging her dislike but pleading for belief in his innocence. Moxie, however, focused on the body. She had an unexpected reaction, expressing admiration for the kill and referring to the girl as it. Noah replied, explaining how the girl entered, tripped, and fell to her death. However, he paused mid-statement, realizing Moxie was addressing the dead girl as it. His confusion deepened as she responded with amusement, questioning if he was also a part-time comedian. Meanwhile, an anxious expression came over Noah as he lost himself in the conversation. Moxie was still actually impressed that he managed to kill it. Noah was still trying to process what was happening, also wondering why the hell she was acting nice. So, He demanded an explanation, starting with, who the hell was the dead girl? Moxie's called him an idiot, uncorked a bottle of liquor, and revealed the truth. The figure was a face stealer. Noah expressed shock. Noah first stared at the face stealer. Curiosity prompted him to ask a dumb question. Moxie responded sharply, asking if he hadn't gone through the warning that had issued. A vague memory of a note surfaced for Noah. So, she questioned how he managed to kill a face stealer without recognizing it. He gave a sheepish admission, repeating his previous statement, saying the creature had slipped and essentially killed itself. Moxie took a drink, labeled the act as lucky, and settled in comfortably. Noah noted her ease in the room. Regardless, Noah continued to inquire. Did being a face stealer mean the body had been taken over? Moxie confirmed it, suggesting the original host was likely insignificant, perhaps a maid. He raised another question about the host's survival. But Moxie clarified that face stealers only inhabited dead bodies. Noah mentally noted this. Hence he needed to be cautious with any of his corpses left behind. Moxie remarked on the oddity of a face stealer targeting someone in their room, as they typically drew to magic. They rarely used magic indoors due to potential property damage. Now that really clarified things, that was why it targeted Noah. Out of the blue, Moxie requested that he keep the matter of the face stealer's secret, simply because she feared local gossip if people discovered Noah took down a face stealer that slipped by her. A smirk played on Noah's face as he agreed, though not without condition. Moxie instantly took offense. She obviously thought Noah wanted something from her. Hence, Noah clarified frantically that he only needed answers, as a head injury had left his memories unclear. He genuinely required assistance to bridge the gaps in his memory. The realization came too late that the wording had sounded disturbingly eerie, especially considering Vermal's infamous reputation. Moxie, still annoyed but cooperative, allowed 10 minutes for questions. Noah finally breathed a sigh of relief. He raised the first question about why such creatures roamed the school grounds when the institution was supposed to be secure. Moxie clarified that although the academy offered relative safety, it was not completely secure. Face stealers had emerged as a recent issue, though they were not the most dangerous threat they encountered. Monsters, like humans, were attracted to runes and the energy they contained. Noah appeared thoughtful. Curiosity led him to a question about whether the energy obtained from slaying monsters was the source of the attraction. Moxie affirmed that monsters also sought the power within runes, emphasizing that energy exchange occurred in both directions. Based on her explanation, it sounded as if humans actually obtained their runes from monsters. That's less likely the case. She added that certain monsters are master runes, which held significantly greater power. As Moxie scattered seeds over the face stealer's corpse, vines erupted and consumed the body entirely. The display of vine magic left Noah stunned. Moxie, unimpressed by his lack of knowledge, scolded him for posing such elementary questions, ones even children would understand. Noah had to rely on the same excuse, citing memory loss from a head injury as the reason for his confusion. He attempted to minimize the gaps in his understanding. At the same time, he realized the vine had completely consumed and absorbed the corpse. He wondered himself how she managed to pull it off. However, Moxie met his previous response about a head injury with further mockery, joking that even face stealers were more intelligent. His next inquiry focused on the proximity of monsters carrying master runes. While pacing the room, Moxie expressed hope that none were nearby and explained that monster strength varied, with the most powerful capable of destroying the entire city. She identified the Hell Reaver as the nearest threat, a rank 2 monster possibly nearing rank 3, equipped with a master rune. He made a mental note to steer clear of that creature. He raised a question about the absence of information on rune creation in the Academy's texts. Moxie responded with skepticism, stating that if the Linwicks had discovered rune crafting, she would be eager to learn. She then mocked the question, pointing out that all research was supposedly documented in his grimoire, though she implied his work was unimpressive. The mention of a grimoire triggered a recollection of Vermal's book, prompting a decision to examine it more thoroughly. Noah's curiosity led him to a question about whether he could learn runes simply by studying a drawn symbol. Moxie explained that a drawn rune held no power on its own. While runes stored energy, they required an external source to begin storing anything. Noah likened the concept to needing an initial investment, similar to jump-starting a car. Basically, runes are like a power pack or bank. Moxie agreed, elaborating that forming a rune within the soul demanded both the rune's energy and its drawing. This was why people closely guarded rune combinations as secrets. Proper knowledge of combining runes was essential, as improper use could result in a catastrophic outcome, the shattering of one's soul. With that explanation complete, he posed a final question. Does anyone dislike me? Moxie wryly suggested that listing those who liked him would be easier. Amused, Noah accepted the answer, basically needing to continuously watch his back. With no further questions, Noah promised to keep their conversation and recent events private. Moxie appeared skeptical of his directness, but accepted the promise, declaring the debt settled. They shook hands, and here she was, thinking Noah would ask for a favor on the upcoming class exams next month. Noah was visibly stunned, but he gave her assurance that he would handle everything. As Moxie departed, he mentally added the exams to his growing list of research tasks. Regardless, Moxie gave him a final warning not to speak of the face stealer incident, citing the consequences if he forgot. The door slammed dramatically, accompanied by a caution not to test her. The scene transitioned to Noah approaching a towering structure. He looked upward, a quiet realization emerging that this was the location where professors had discussed as a magical public transit system. It did not match his expectations, yet he decided to proceed. Entering the building, he climbed up to the 30th floor. Upon arrival, he found a room housing the transport cannon. An elderly man greeted Noah warmly and inquired about his destination. The cannon's appearance failed to inspire confidence, but he requested to be sent to the Scorched Acres. The old man asked if he was making the trip for teaching purposes, receiving a vague reply from Noah. He noted that choosing the cannon this time was wise, reminding him that he had issued a warning the previous month. The cannon guaranteed a 24-hour return. Noah admitted that ignoring the advice had resulted in a concussion, and quiet contemplation arose about Vermil's reasons for traveling there, which had ultimately led to his death. Noah posed a question about the cannon's safety. The old man confidently assured him of its reliability and encouraged him to enter, mentioning a small queue despite the usual quiet. Once inside, Noah appeared hesitant and questioned what to do next. The old man showed off a wicked smirk before giving a simple instruction: squeeze. As the cannon powered up, panic set in. Noah screamed and pleaded to be released. But the old man was amused, reminding him that this was the part Noah usually enjoyed. Noah braced himself for the transport. Even if he died by accident, he would definitely come back to life. Though perhaps he should have left the gourd behind. With a triumphant cry of up, and away, the old man launched Noah from the cannon. At the Linwick estate, Braden enters a dim room to speak with his father, who stands in the shadows. He reports about his task completion. In addition, Braden reports Vermil behaves oddly, but the father expresses no surprise, calling it an improvement over Vermil's usual unpleasant demeanor. Braden, whom I'm suspecting is Noah's brother, attempts optimism, suggesting Vermil might be nearing completion of his mission. The father remains doubtful, coldly stating that Vermal will fulfill his purpose whether in life or death. Meanwhile, Noah soars through the air, surrounded by blue energy, heading toward the Scorched Acres. Just before impact, the energy vanishes and he lands face first in the dirt. Frustration follows, with a muttered complaint about the cannon's lack of safety. Rising to his feet, he surveys the scorched terrain, which reveals no changes since his last visit. He reassures himself that pain is temporary and the cannon will return him in 24 hours. Determination takes hold, with a resolve that the monsters will learn fear before the day ends. With that aside, It is time to venture deeper into the forest, an area deserted enough for safe practice. After a clumsy climb up a tree, relief comes that no one has witnessed the awkward ascent. Retrieving Vermal's grimoire, Noah hopes to find something interesting apart from his wind rune magic. After all, if he is going to fill his rune with energy, it has to be the right one. He flips through in search of something more compelling. Vermal has collected nearly 100 runes, but Noah desires something more distinctive. He dismisses the flame rune as too basic, rejects the plant rune due to a failed attempt at caring for a succulent, and deems the shadow rune overly dramatic. He also rules out water, light, electricity, and metal. Noah needs a rune that can apply knowledge from Earth, despite limited memory of nuclear weapons or complex chemistry. As a music teacher, one idea immediately resonates with him. At last, he finds the desired rune, a greater vibration rune, rank 1. It's funny how Vermal considered it useless, as it merely causes shaking. He clearly didn't test its potential properly. Noah explains how, with sufficient vibration, tremors, quakes, and resonant frequencies could be triggered, possibly even collapsing structures. This is the breakthrough and angle Noah seeks. He instantly makes a decision to replace one of the wind runes with the vibration rune. Although the ash runes are strongest, their use remains a mystery, so he leaves them untouched. He carefully dismantles one of the smaller wind runes. The rune shatters into fragments and fades slowly. Next comes the challenging part, the reconstruction of a better rune. With intense focus, he reshapes particles from the old rune into the new vibration rune. Success follows, though the rune holds minimal energy. In other words, it's time to farm some monkeys, relying solely on the wind rune in order to fill the vibration rune. He also needs to settle some scores. Spotting a monkey feasting on another's corpse, he calls out with a classic anime protagonist line. As it turns, he activates his wind rune and cleanly severs its head. Satisfaction fades quickly when the energy gained barely fills his runes. With a grim sense of humor, he hopes the monkeys aren't endangered, as many more will fall. Perched in a tree, Noah scans the terrain for his next victim. A group of monkeys comes into view, one resembling the type responsible for his previous death. This encounter serves as the true test. Leaving his gore behind, he watches the group closely. He wonders if they're intelligent. Their apparent communication unsettles him, but the memory of his own death reignites his fury. He declares the bastards dead. He launches into action, decapitating the smaller monkeys and slicing another in half. But the largest remains upright, its jaw practically hitting the ground. Noah taunts the creature, questioning whether the fallen are companions or just food. The monkey charges, and Noah unleashes numerous wind attacks. The creature dodges with ease. Each blast causes 0 damage. Now that's definitely a skill issue. Noah's frustration only grows as he struggles to hit the agile target. The monkey closes the distance, claws slashing. Noah dodges, but stumbles, and the creature lunges to finish him. Recognizing the familiar attack pattern, he anticipates the dual-handed strike. Confidence surges, but speed fails him. In the end, the blow lands and his body collapses. His soul drifts from the fallen form, lamenting the inability to react in time despite knowing the move. Now, training has become a priority. 12 hours later, he returns, fully aware that each death brings a splitting headache and temporarily blocks his magic. He notes the duration of the pain and prepares for another confrontation. The monkey shrieks and leaps. Anticipating its moves, he dodges the side slashes, leans away from the overhead strike, and counters the horizontal attack with precise wind rune magic, decapitating it instantly. Observing the fallen body, he concludes that all monkeys fight with predictable patterns, simplifying his task. Soon after, he returns to the transport cannon. The old man greets him, startled by his battered appearance. Exhaustion weighs heavily as Noah questions the method of travel. The concerned old man asks about his condition. Noah reassures him, admitting he forgets about the rapid return. The old man winks, suggesting heavy use of healing potions. Noah agrees and leaves, deciding to bring spare clothes next time. In the classroom, he waits for students who arrive late. Footsteps echo, and he notes they are earlier than the previous time. Todd and Isabel enter. Todd confidently claims he knows Noah will be present, while Isabel questions his certainty, referencing Noah's absence the day before. Todd dismisses her doubt and collects on a bet. Curious, Noah asks about the class schedule, wondering if he misses something during his trip to Scorched Acres. Isabel clarifies that class occurs every other day and has been scheduled for the previous one. Noah asks why they come, and Todd explains they often use the classroom as a hangout spot. Apologizing for the interruption, Noah proposes making up for the missed session, suggesting that learning together is worthwhile. Silence follows. Clearing his throat, he asks about their homework. Todd admits to stress eating instead of solving it, while Isabel confesses confusion despite her efforts. She requests the answer, and Noah surprises them by admitting he doesn't know either. That is clearly unexpected. Regardless, he explains that the difficulty means it requires deeper thought, a process they have to undertake themselves. Isabel, frustrated, questions the point of thinking without an answer. Noah points out that the act of thinking itself holds value. Turning to the board, he introduces the day's main topic, the importance of good runes. He asks if the limit is 7 per level, and both students confirm. When he asks what happens upon advancing ranks, Todd explains the process of combining all 7 into a stronger rune, enabling absorption or fusion of more complex ones. Progression moves from general types like fire or wind to specialized ones like frozen mist, and so on. Isabel warns that failed combinations can shatter runes, crippling the user until the soul heals, a process that can take years. She emphasizes that successful combinations require deep understanding, guidance, and intent. Noah reflects on the Vermeil family's likely impressive rune collection, but considers contacting them unwise. After 30 minutes, he wraps up the session, comparing runes to buckets, lesser ones being smaller, greater ones larger. When all 7 fill, they can merge into a more capable rune. Noah asks if that covers everything about runes, and Todd and Isabel agree with the analogy, but they remain silent. He assures them no answer is needed yet, and ends the class to avoid overwhelming them, promising to continue the discussion next time. At the same time, both students exchange looks. Isabel remarks on Noah's transformation, wondering how serious his head injury is. He dismisses the comment, stating he likes himself now. Todd agrees, noting Noah seems almost respectable. Noah considers that progress. Before they leave, he tries to confirm if the next class is in 2 days. Isabel confirms the time, addressing him formally. Noah thanks them and reminds them to be punctual, asserting that lateness is his thing and that he isn't finished with either of them. Later, as he exits the classroom, he clutches his head, exhaustion settling in. He wonders if repeated deaths cause such fatigue and wishes it was possible for consulting WebMD. 2 days later, he sits at his desk, lost in thought. Time remains before class begins, but the persistent headaches from magic use continue to plague him. He questions whether the strain stems from the magic itself or the creeping paranoia of knowing Vermeil's killer remains at large. As these thoughts churn, a shadowy figure appears in the window behind him. Startled, he spins around swiftly, yet nothing appears. Muttering under his breath, he questions whether the moment is a trick of the light or the toll of too many sleepless nights. Shaking off the eerie sensation, Noah refocuses. Determined to test the results of the previous day's training, he activates the vibration rune, hoping for progress. As his hand presses against the desk, it begins to tremble. Items scatter, and he scrambles to catch them before they tumble. The effectiveness of the rune surprises him. Pleased, yet intrigued, he turns his attention to the other runes. If vibration and wind respond well, then why does ash continue to resist? An idea sparks. Grabbing a candle and a sheet of paper, he lights the flame and watches the paper burn, reducing it to ash. Activating the ash rune, a grin spreads across his face. That is when he realizes why he can't use the ash runes. He can't create ash. The realization strikes. Runes govern existing elements, not create them. He decides to experiment with the ash rune to compare its strength to the lesser runes. Noah attempts to direct the created ashes toward the candle, but nothing happens. Disappointment settles in. Ash, unlike wind, lacks cutting force. Contemplating the nature of runes, he deduces their strength hinges on the energy stored within. This clarifies Vermel's preference for multiple weaker wind runes, easier to wield than building up to stronger ones. Thankfully, only one wind rune has been discarded. Otherwise, a reliable combat method might have been lost. Yet the massive purple rune before him remains a mystery. Uncertainty and hesitation grip Noah. Tampering with it seems reckless, especially without understanding its function. Still, curiosity gnaws at him. Floating closer, he reaches out and touches the rune. A flash erupts. Suddenly, the man who had battled renewal earlier appears. Approaching a centipede-like creature, he prepares for confrontation. The man faces its lunge, but he immediately follows up with a single strike, splitting it in two. Runes spill from the creature's body. Noah watches in awe as the man retrieves one labeled insectoid armor. Thoughts race. He hopes to memorize in order to replicate. The man, however, splits the rune into two, shattering it in the process. After it seems like he destroys the rune, on the contrary, he doesn't destroy it, but rather splits it into different runes. Its function becomes clear: sunder. It splits not only creatures, but runes themselves. The revelation electrifies Noah. Unlike typical rune combinations, irreversible like baking a cake, sunder allows separation and recovery of original components. Infinite testing becomes possible, free from permanence. Excitement surges, but time presses. He dashes from the room, postponing further exploration of sunder. Strength needs to grow before wielding such power. If combinations unlock new magic, then sunder is the master key. Noticing the open door, he reminds himself to lock it next time, recalling a past encounter with a face stealer. Arriving at the classroom, Isabel greets him with her usual bluntness. Noah responds politely, brushing off her remarks, claiming being late is part of his job. Todd chimes in, curious about the day's lesson. Imbuement, combinations, or perhaps the meaning of life. His guesses miss the mark. Noah shakes his head, amused, and suddenly proposes a field trip. Once outside, Todd looks incredulous. Isabel voices her irritation, questioning Noah's ability to teach when he lacks answers himself. With a smirk, Noah clarifies, he won't be instructing today. Both students will spar against each other. Todd rolls his eyes, suspecting another one of his excuses. Isabel seizes the moment to taunt Todd, accusing him of fear of losing to her again. Todd fires back, reminding her of their previous tie. Isabel coolly replies that tying again should be easy. Their banter continues, and Noah watches with satisfaction, encouraging their competitive spirit. At the training grounds, preparations begin. Each student wears a shield badge, designed to block magical attacks, though it only functions within the grounds. Todd, brimming with confidence, asks Isabel if she can handle his flame magic. She smirks, mockingly noting that the only thing he can burn is their dinner. Todd retorts with a weak jab, which Isabel dismisses, urging him to save his banter for when Vermil isn't around. Annoyed, Todd pushes to begin. From the sidelines, Noah observes Todd. Cleverly, Todd bypasses his fire rune's limitations. Meanwhile, Isabel activates her rune, literally looking like Raiden Shogun from Genshin Impact, and an energy sword emerges from her chest. A plasma sword. Noah marvels at the unfamiliar magic. Both wield power without displaying their runes, prompting Noah to wonder if he can do the same. Todd charges, his strikes wild yet strong. Isabel blocks and shoves him back. Concern creeps in as the fight intensifies. Isabel taunts Todd, praising his strength but criticizing his lack of precision. Determined, Todd prepares to launch fireballs. Isabel dodges most, narrowly escaping one. Another forces her to block, sending her sword flying. Noah assumes the match is over. But Isabel surges forward, fierce and relentless. Confusion grips Noah. He wonders why she continues. Todd senses danger, curses, and braces himself. Isabel sees an opening and conjures another sword, catching Noah off guard. Todd blocks the strike, but the impact lights up his shield badge and suddenly creates a protective barrier. Her eyes burn with intensity, and the shield cracks under pressure. Frustrated, Todd collapses as the shield shatters. Isabel stands over him, challenging his claim of tie. Todd expresses disdain for her magic. He wants to make an excuse for his loss, but falters. Insisting he nearly won, he points to her dropped sword. Isabel counters that it had been intentional. Todd remains skeptical, just as their argument is about to escalate, each disputing the other's claim. Noah clears his throat, breaking the tension. Both snap at him, demanding his purpose. Applauding their performance, Noah admits surprise. Based on their remarks about Vermal's teachings, he had doubted their magical abilities. Concerns about their readiness for the exam now seem misplaced. Todd hesitates, trying to inquire about the exam. Isabel interrupts, demanding clarity. She asks if Noah is truly going to make them take it. Noah questions their resistance, asking how they plan to pass without it. Isabel's frustration boils over. She reminds him of their prior agreement, emphasizing that proper instruction had only begun a week ago. She explains that an agreement had been made promising them a free pass if they brought what Noah demanded. Realization strikes Noah as the depth of Vermal's corruption becomes clear, and he silently curses the man for arranging such a deal. He informs them that circumstances have shifted, and the exam will be mandatory after all. Panic grips Todd and Isabel at the thought of facing death during the test, and they voice their protest. Noah requests a reminder of what the exam entails. Todd looks stunned at the question, while Isabel clarifies that it requires killing a slasher, a swift and vicious predator that can shred them apart if caution fails. Noah absorbs the information, yet brushes it aside, remarking that their sparring sessions have already prepared them. Slashers, though fast, act in predictable patterns. Isabel, unconvinced, snaps back that such words are easy for Noah since he will not be the one fighting. Todd follows with skepticism, accusing Noah of cheating through his own exam just as they had attempted now. In response, Noah reveals his history of killing many slashers alone. Both students falter at the revelation, though Todd clings to doubt, while Isabel sarcastically suggests that any slasher Noah faced must have been restrained by his powerful family. Within himself, Noah mourns the lack of respect from his pupils, yet resolves to prove his worth regardless, unwilling to let them suffer as Vermil had allowed. He then declares his decision. The next weeks will be dedicated to training. If by the time of the exam they still lack confidence, he will permit them to cheat without any bribes. The announcement shocks both students, more so when Isabel quickly agrees, surprising Todd. When he questions her choice, Isabel explains that there is no alternative. Strength can only be gained through effort, and survival demands abandoning reliance on cheating. She also slips further, revealing a darker intention. Noah catches the words and wonders if he heard correctly, but Isabel presses forward with an ultimatum. He has until the exam to prove himself, or they will walk away. She warns him against self-satisfaction, insisting that he remains a terrible professor. To her surprise, Noah agrees with the judgment. Hours later, Noah ventures into the scorched acres, cutting down slashers with ease. 3 have already fallen to him as he grows accustomed to wielding his magic without physically inscribing his runes. The act of visualizing them in his mind proves enough, a convenience he relishes. Each slasher dies once their movements become familiar. Their patterns remove the element of surprise. He even muses about a mythical drill Sergeant Monkey instructing them to fight identically. His musings end when a rock strikes his head, launching him backward. The impact slams his body against the ground. From the shadows, a monkey creeps out with predatory hunger, licking his prone form before starting to feed. Noah's hand, now detached in spirit form, rises from the corpse. His spirit cracks, his form writhing in agony. Screams tear from him as pain surges, confusion twisting his thoughts. Death should have ended sensation, yet torment persists. Morning comes, and birdsong fills the air outside Noah's window, dragging him from restless sleep. Light pierces the room, intensifying his throbbing headache. Irritated, he yanks the curtains shut, muttering bitterly about the toll of repeated deaths. He wonders about limits, whether constant dying erodes his soul beyond repair. Frustration boils over as he shouts at the birds. Sunlight stings his skin, forcing him to recoil with complaints of burning. In the bathroom, Noah confronts his reflection, thoughts circling back to his battles. Despite unlimited chances at resurrection, the monkeys remain stronger, and Todd and Isabel lack such a luxury. Their mortality weighs heavily on him. Washing his face, he regrets not reincarnating as something harmless, perhaps a slime. That thought shatters when a slasher's reflection appears in the mirror. Shock drives him to attack with wind magic, but turning reveals only emptiness. Madness seems to creep in with every death. A sigh escapes as he seeks relief through liquor. After a glass, he lays out priorities on paper. Cure the headache, strengthen and fill his runes, train Todd and Isabel for the exam, and identify who seeks his life. The assassin lingers at the bottom of his concerns. First comes the unbearable pain. Memories of the cracks forming in his soul resurface, possibly linked to his agony. Observing his spirit again, he finds fresh fractures. The sight disturbs him, though healing begins on its own, slowly knitting together. Weeks will be required, but least repair remains possible. Reflection strikes him. His earliest reckless deaths had left the worst damage, nearly catastrophic had he not adapted. Within one of the spiritual fissures, a strange eye stares back at him, its presence unnerving. Crossing the first task off his list, Noah notes that his vibration rune has grown stronger, though still incomplete. Progress encourages him, reminding him of how this life surpasses the monotony of teaching on Earth. The third task, however, looms heavier. Todd and Isabel have been commanded to devote the week to sparring and preparation for Scorched Acres, giving Noah precious time to strategize. The Chuckers, however, disrupt everything. To call them complications is an understatement. They are obstacles as immovable as stone. Defeating them seems nearly impossible. Twice they end his life before he even spots them. Thankfully, their presence lingers deep in Scorched Acres, leaving the forest edges safe for his students' training. Every death teaches him fragments of knowledge about their tactics, though headaches grow with each resurrection. Still, he clings to hope that mastering them is possible. With a week gone and the exam nearing, determination anchors Noah. Failure for Todd and Isabel, as Vermeil had inflicted, will not repeat. Entering the classroom late, as usual, he endures Todd's dry jab and Isabel's sharp remark about canceling lessons. Ignoring both, he declares the session on. Todd presses for a reason behind his sudden concern. The question stirs Noah's past as a music teacher, memories of students he never saw succeed. Regret still haunts him, fueling his vow to see his current pupils thrive. Todd doubts if his words were heard, while Isabel notices his smile. Noah answers that his care comes from duty, then urges them onward, for there are places to reach. The group arrives at the transport cannon, where Noah greets the eccentric old operator, Tim. Amused by Noah's companions, Tim teases them about the field trip to Scorched Acres. Noah replies that it is training for the exam, earning Tim's nod of approval. With a grin and a thumbs up, Tim prepares the cannon, while Noah instructs his students to follow inside, pressing them not to delay. Todd groans at the queasy sensation, while Isabel threatens him if his puke reaches her. Despair tinges Todd's voice as he predicts their death, prompting Isabel to ask how Noah had even convinced them to come. Noah grins, claiming their passion for growth inspire bravery. Isabel deadpants that blackmail played a role, but Noah dismisses the difference as mere semantics. With a loud call, he signals Tim to fire, and the cannon launches them towards scorched acres. If you made it this far and feel the video is worth it, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Until the next recap,